folks, welcome to the Dice Tower. My name is Tom Vassell, and me and many other people, about 70 of us, part of the Dice Tower staff, different bloggers, reviewers in the industry, each year we get together and we discuss and talk and vote on the best games of the previous year. Now we have to wait till the year is over a little bit till we get all those games played and gone through, and then we vote in different categories. Now this is a private voting style, and we vote. What we're going to be presenting to you today are our nominations for each of the different categories lists, and we're presenting them in alphabetical order, so there's no, I'm not saying any one game is better than the other. We'll be voting on these and presenting the winner of each category, and that will be announced in July at the Dice Tower Convention. We'll be streaming that live and recording it just so different people can see it. However, I'm really pleased with these nomination lists because even regardless of which one wins, if you're looking for a great game in these categories, you can pick one of the games in each list, any game on that list, and you'll find some great stuff. Congratulations to all those nominated. Let's get to the first category.
Here are the nominees for Best Reprint of the Year. El Grande Big Box, designed by Wolfgang Kramer and Richard Ulrich, published by Z-Man Games. Fear of Dracula, 3rd edition, designed by Frank Brooks, Stephen Hand, and Kevin Wilson, published by Fantasy Flight Games. Mission Red Planet, designed by Bruno Catala and Bruno Faduti, published by Fantasy Flight Games. Stronghold, 2nd edition, designed by Ignacy Cevicek, published by Portal and Stronghold Games. And lastly, Through the Ages, A New Story of Civilization, designed by Vlada Chavato, published by Czech Games Edition. Again, here are those nominees. Here are the nominees for Best Theming of the Year. Baseball Highlights 2045, designed by Mike Fitzgerald, published by Eagle Griffin Games. Blood Rage, designed by Eric M. Lang, published by Cool Mini or Not. Food Chain Magnate, designed by Jeroen Douwman and Joris Wasinga, published by Splotter Spellen. Pandemic Legacy Season 1, designed by Rob Daviau and Matt Leacock, published by Z-Man Games. And lastly, Time Stories, designed by Peggy Chassaigne and Manuel Rozoy, published by Space Cowboys. And let's take a look at them again.
Nominated this year for Best Expansion was Colt Express Horses and Stagecoach, designed by Christophe Rambeau and published by Ludonaut. 5 Tribes, The Artisans of Nakala, designed by Bruno Cathala, published by Days of Wonder. Roll for the Galaxy, Ambition, designed by Wei Hua Huang and Thomas Lehman, published by Rio Grande Games. Russian Railroads, German Railroads, designed by Helmut Oli and Leonard Orgler, published by Z-Man Games. Ticket to Ride Map Collection 5, United Kingdom and Pennsylvania, designed by Alan R. Moon and published by Days of Wonder. Here are your nominees once again.
Hey, now we're going to talk about the best games from a small publisher. Now this means at the beginning of 2015, this publisher had 5 or fewer games that they've published. Once they've gone over that, then the following years they are ineligible for this award. The games here are Between Two Cities, designed by Matthew O'Malley, Morton Manred Peterson, and Ben Rossett, published by Stonemeyer's Games. Burgle Brothers, designed and published by Tim Fowers. Champions of Midgard, designed by Ole Steinitz and published by Grey Fox Games. Lanterns, The Harvest Festival, designed by Christopher Chung and published by Renegade Games. And Stockpile, designed by Brett Sobel and Seth Van Orden, published by Nauvoo Games. Once again, here are the nominees.
Here are the nominees for Best Game from a New Designer, and to qualify for this, that designer must have published only 1 or 2 games, so it must be their first or second published games. Here they are. We have Between Two Cities, designed by Matthew O'Malley, Morton Monrad Peterson, and Ben Rossett, published by Stonemeyer Games. New York 1901, designed by Chenier LaSalle, published by Blue Orange Games. Stockpile, designed by Brett Sobel and Seth Van Orden, published by Nauvoo Games. Time Stories, designed by Peggy Chassaigne and Manuel Rozoy, published by Space Cowboys. And Tides of Time, designed by Christian Churla, published by Portal Games. Again, those nominees are here.
Hey folks, here are your nominees for Best Artwork from the Dice Tower Awards this year. First off, we have Above and Below, illustrated by Ryan Lockett and published by Red Raven Games. And we have Ashes, Rise of the Phoenix Born, which was illustrated by David Richards and Fernanda Suarez, published by Plaid Hat Games. And then we have The Grizzled, illustrated by Tanu, published by Cool Mini or Not. And then we have Mysterium, illustrated by Igor Burlikov and Xavier Collette, and published by Asmodee. Then we have Time Stories, illustrated by Ben Carr, Vincent Dutrait, David Lecousseau, Pascal Quidol, and published by Space Cowboy.
Here are the nominees for the best two-player games. Seven Wonders Duel, designed by Antoine Boza and Bruno Catala, published by Repo Production. Ashes, Rise of the Phoenix Born, designed by Isaac Vega, published by Plaid Hat Games. Baseball Highlights 2045, designed by Mike Fitzgerald, published by Eagle Griffin Games. Raptor, designed by Bruno Catala and Bruno Faduti, published by Matago. And Risk Star Wars Edition, designed by James D'Aloisio, Austin Rucker, and Craig Van Ness, published by Hasbro. Again, those nominees are here.
Your nominees for Best Party Game this year are Codenames, designed by Vlada Chevaltel and published by Czech Games Edition. Mafia de Cuba, designed by Philippe Depalliere and Loic Lamy, published by Asmodee. Murder, Deception in Hong Kong, designed by Toby Ho and published by Grey Fox Games. Mysterium, designed by Alexander Nevsky and Oleg Sidorenko, published by Asmodee. Two Rooms and a Boom, designed by Alan Girding and Sean McCoy, published by Tuesday Night Games. Here are your nominees once again. Your nominees for Best Cooperative Game this year are The Grizzled, designed by Fabian Riffaud and Juan Rodriguez, published by Cool Mini or Not. Mysterium, designed by Alexander Nevsky and Oleg Sidorenko, published by Asmodee. Pandemic Legacy Season 1, designed by Rob Davio and Matt Leacock, published by Z-Man Games. Time Stories, designed by Peggy Chassonnet and Manuel Rozoy, published by Space Cowboys. And XCOM the Board Game, designed by Eric M. Lang and published by Fantasy Flight Games. Here are your nominees once again.
Next up, let's take a look at Best Family Game nominees. Here we go. Codenames, designed by Vlad Chavato, published by Czech Games Edition. Flick 'em Up, designed by Gaëtan Boujanot and Jean-Yves Montpechus, published by Pretzel Games. Lanterns, The Harvest Festival, designed by Christopher Chung, published by Renegade Games. Mysterium, designed by Alexander Nevsky and Oleg Sidorenko, published by Asmodee. And lastly, New York 1901, designed by Chenier LaSalle, published by Blue Orange Games. Again, here are those nominees. Next up, let's take a look at the Best Strategy Game nominees. Here we go. Blood Rage, designed by Eric M. Lang, published by Cool Mini or Not. Elysium, designed by Matthew Dunstan and Brett J. Gilbert, published by Space Cowboys. Pandemic Legacy Season 1, designed by Rob Daviau and Matt Leacock, published by Z-Man Games. Roll for the Galaxy, designed by Wei Hua Huang and Thomas Lehman, published by Rio Grande Games. And The Voyages of Marco Polo, designed by Simone Luciani and Daniele Tascini, published by Z-Man Games.
Your nominees this year for Best Board Game Components are Blood Rage, designed by Eric M. Lang and published by Cool Mini or Not. Cthulhu Wars, designed by Sandy Peterson and published by Peterson Games. Flick 'em Up, designed by Gaëtan Boujanot and Jean-Yves Montpechus, published by Pretzel Games. Forbidden Stars, designed by Samuel Bailey, James Niffen, and Corey Knezga, published by Fantasy Flight Games. And Star Wars Armada, designed by James Niffen and Christian T. Peterson, also published by Fantasy Flight Games. Here are your nominees once again. Your nominations for Most Innovative Game this year are 504, designed by Friedman Freeze and published by Stronghold. Codenames, designed by Vlada Shavatel and published by Czech Games Edition. Mysterium, designed by Oleksandr Nevsky and Oleg Sidorenko, published by Asmodee. Time Stories, designed by Peggy Chassanet and Manuel Rozoy, published by Space Cowboys. And XCOM the Board Game, designed by Eric M. Lang and published by Fantasy Flight Games. Here are your nominees once again.
And finally, we get to Game of the Year. This is the most fun game that we played all year long, and since so many great games, this category has 10 nominees. Here they are. Seven Wonders Duel, designed by Antoine Bauza and Bruno Catala, published by Repost Production. Blood Rage, designed by Eric M. Lang and published by Cool Mini or Not. Codenames, designed by Vlada Shavatel, published by Czech Game Editions. Elysium, designed by Matthew Dunstan and Brett J. Gilbert, published by Space Cowboys. The Gallerist, designed by Vitel Lacerda, published by Eagle Griffin Games. Mysterium, designed by Alexandra Novinsky, published by Asmodee. Pandemic Legacy Season 1, designed by Rob Daviau and Matt Leacock, published by Z-Man Games. Roll for the Galaxy, designed by Wei-Ha Huang and Thomas Lemon, published by Rio Grande Games. Time Stories, designed by Peggy Chassanet and Manuel Razoy, published by Space Cowboys. And The Voyages of Marco Polo, designed by Simone Luciani and Danielle Taschini, published by Z-Man Games. Here they are one more time. All right, so for the next few months, what the committee will do is we will be playing as many of these games as possible so that we can vote on them, and we'll announce the finals at the Dice Tower Con in July. I actually do not vote on the nominees or in the finals unless there's a tiebreaker, but I still get to run these awards, and we appreciate everyone who voted. We hope that you enjoy looking at these lists of nominees. You can find all of them at Dicetower.com.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.